Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, Senate committee says, roll them bones. Also, the V team takes a look at the doomsday budget. And is Speaker Mike Hubbard coming unhinged as he hears those steel bars slamming? All this and much, much more coming up next on The V.
The Voice of Alabama Politics with your host, Bill Brett, and the V team with Claire Austin, Susan Britt, Jack Campbell, Baron Coleman, Charlana Spencer, and special reports with Jonathan Barbie. Now, the #1 political show in Alabama, The V.
Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V team. Welcome all.
Good day.
Good Sunday. Good Sunday.
It was a busy, wild week at the statehouse, to say the least.
Indeed.
The House Committee on Finance passed an austerity budget that Governor Robert Bentley is furious about. Susan, it's a tight budget, and Bentley is on a rampage.
He is, and he should be. I mean, we got a $1.64 billion budget that they had to cut $280 million out of that budget. Prisons, Medicaid, Medicare, all got a 5% cut across the board. DAs, 18%. Children's neglect and abuse prevention, 100%. Now, they do get some money out of the trust fund, but not nearly as much as they get from the general fund. And the judicial branch is going to be cut 14%.
Roy Moore can't be very happy today, Claire.
Well, and they cut the administrative office of the court so bad the last couple of years anyway. They're the bare bones skeleton. I mean, you know, if you try to go to a courthouse on a Friday, you can't get anything done in the state of Alabama.
Baron, is this just fear tactic, this doomsday scenario?
I don't know. It's possible a budget like this ends up being the budget for the state of Alabama. I doubt this particular version is what we're eventually going to be operating under next year. But they had some tax increases that were on the special order calendar in the House Tuesday. There were rumors they were going to come back Thursday on there. But the folks back home found out about this. They found out the shenanigans that people were up to down here in Montgomery. I heard from several representatives who said they got dozens of calls from back home saying, do not even think about raising my taxes. They had a revolt at the caucus meeting, I'm hearing, and the taxes came off the calendar. And so this sounds like what we're left with unless they pursue some of this gaming.
Well, I mean, I think, like you said, this is a House budget. It's got to go through the Senate, right, and then there'll be a conference committee. I think it'll be a little bit different. But I think that the members of both chambers want the people to see that they're in dire straits, and then maybe there will be a need for some of this gaming or depending on which side comes out of all this.
One of the things we're hearing, and I've been asked this several times, is because Bob Riley, when he wanted to raise $1 billion in taxes, said that the sky was falling, and they didn't raise the taxes, and the sky didn't fall. I'm hearing people say, this is just Bentley and the legislature's trying to scare us. They don't need to raise taxes. Are you hearing something similar?
I'm hearing something similar, but we've got some real problems here. I mean, these Medicaid and mental health cuts, we're talking about 1 in 4 Alabamians has some family member, has some sort of mental disability or mental problem that's supported by the system. You think about that statewide and cutting a large percentage out of that help. That's going to be a big deal.
Well, that is, and the prisons, and back to what you were saying, when Riley did that, that's been many years ago. Right. And then since the in 2010 elections and the Republicans come in, they've really been cutting many of these agencies back to the bare bones. So I think that the numbers are really real this time.
Well, it is deep cuts. I mean, I think the mental health issue bears out. Jonathan, our producer on this show, has got a beautiful sister that is a special needs. People like that, they lose services, they lose things that they depend on for their life. I also think, we don't have any institutions anymore, Baron. We don't have anywhere for these people to go.
No, we're done with that. And unfortunately, a lot of that's fallen on the local jails and the prisons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because mentally ill people, many of them can't function normally in society, right, and end up resorting to a life of crime in order to try to get by when they don't have the services they need. That's part of it. The other thing is, right now, I'm hearing most counties are on an 18 to 24-month wait for a criminal case.
Right,
I mean, a rape, a burglary, a theft, a murder. They cut the DAs 18% in this budget. We were already on an 18 to 24-month wait. How long are we going to let these people wander around the streets on bail?
Well, I mean, I think they're doing all this for some show. I mean, these chairmen of these budgets in the House and the Senate, I mean, they've got to show the people and the representatives that these cuts are real and they are for real, and we've got to do something to fix these holes, and I'm not sure what the answer is. Is it more taxes? Is it gaming? And the people of the state have got to make that determination.
It's suicide.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think you're exactly right, and like I was talking with Bill the other night, I think what they're doing is saying, okay, this is the way it's going to be, people. Either you got to raise taxes or you got to get bingo, because this is what it's going to look like. So you got to make a choice here.
Well, I don't think there's any appetite in the House for taxes. They're definitely not on board with Mike Hubbard's plan, and I know there's very little appetite in the Senate. I mean, isn't that what you guys are hearing?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the Senate, you are not going to get a tax package through the Senate.
No,
that's just not going to happen. The question is, are the legislators going to give the people of the state of Alabama an opportunity to weigh in on it? They seem to overwhelmingly support this idea of Class 3 or Vegas-style casinos coming to Alabama, helping out the general fund budget. Are they going to allow that constitutional amendment to go before the vote of the people, or are they going to take it away from them and force us to live under a budget like this?
Well, I don't know. We got about 2 minutes.
To be determined.
There's something else I want to get to here before we take a break. Several Republicans, editors, the chairman of the party, a lot of people have been coming out saying, all we need to do is unearmark parts of the budget, the Alabama Education Trust Fund, unearmark some of these things and combine the two budgets. They make it sound so simple. Barron, that is a complicated constitutional mess. It's
a complicated mess. Del Marsh has said publicly multiple times there will be no combination of the two budgets until we grasp some of the problems that are causing spending to go out of control, or else it's just going to eat up education. You're going to end up transferring money from education to the prisons, education to Medicaid, and most people don't want to be in that situation. When we hear earmark, we think of what goes on in Washington, D.C., where you build a bridge to nowhere, or you fund some butterfly study in Iowa. That's not what's earmarked in Alabama. We're talking about taking money and designating it for a purpose, because we don't trust the legislature to fund what we want them to fund.
And that's the big issue. I mean, with taking the two budgets apart, I don't think the people trust these guys with more money.
Right. Well, I think you're right. But there's been talk about that because so many states do that. But you've got the education budget chairs and the general chair, and they don't want to give up their chairmanship either.
That's true.
Well, I mean, when the founding fathers kind of wrote whoever wrote the 1901, I guess they're not founding fathers, when they wrote that budget, they meant, or the Constitution, they didn't want these people having to say over both budgets.
Exactly. I mean, that's why they wrote it in there, because they know human nature. And human nature is to, if I don't have any money, I'll just go get a little over here. I'll just do it once or twice.
Well, that's what they've been doing now for the last 5 years.
I know.
Just from different, oil and gas funds and robbing Peter to pay Paul.
So turn them loose with the Education Trust Fund? No.
We've already got a lousy education system. It's going to get worse. We're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
The V is sponsored by Spot On Strategies Group.
It's time to take a road trip. In Alabama, the road and the restaurants are calling. We've elevated barbecue to an art form, a meat masterpiece. Fine dining your thing? National awards are putting us on the map. Because everything's fresh and local. And if you like your dinner with a view, well, you can't beat this. Alabama has a road trip with your name on it. Which one you gonna take?
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. We're joined by Jack Campbell.
How's it going, everybody?
Good day.
Jack, this past week, the Senate committee did something that I never thought I'd see. They passed an omnibus gaming bill to make Vegas-style gaming and a lottery available at the request of the voters. Voters can pass it if they want to, and we can game if we want to. What do you think about that?
I think it's a pretty fair way to do it. Obviously, the governor's tax proposal has fallen on deaf ears. The House is coming apart over Mike Hubbard's tax proposals. And to me, this is a common sense approach to generating some revenue without putting a burden on the taxpayers in Alabama who are still going through a tough economy.
You know, Claire, Governor Bentley, when he ran for office and once he was in office, he said that if this issue came up, he wanted to give the people a voice, let them vote on it. All of a sudden, he doesn't seem like he wants to let people vote on it.
Yeah, that's very true, because I remember that in the primary that year, and particularly he was down in Houston County, and he committed to the citizens down there of that. And so it is a little interesting that he's changed his tune on that.
2 years ago, I asked him in an interview, I said, you know, we were talking. I said, Governor Bentley, would you support a referendum on a lottery or gambling? And he said, they don't send me a bill. I said, well, if they sent me a bill, would you let the people vote? He said, I've always said that I would let the people vote. Barron, this is what a lot of people are saying is the best idea they've heard yet.
Well, look, it covers two fundamental bases that people in the state of Alabama really like. One is it's a voluntary tax. If you don't play, you don't pay. The second thing is it gives the people a say in their government and what takes place in their community. Everybody in the state of Alabama is over the age of 18, not disqualified, you know, by mental disability or felony or something, has an opportunity. Every voter will have an opportunity to weigh in on this. Those are two great appeals to the state of Alabama. It's voluntary, and you, the voter, get the final say in whether this passes.
Well, one of the things we've done in the last couple of weeks is Alabama Politics, the political reporter, did a study, a poll. Barron, you conducted the poll with your people. Can you give us a rundown of what you saw the most startling things were?
Yeah, the things I didn't expect to see. I did not expect Vegas-style casino gambling to be favored by more than half of Alabama, and it is. I did not expect to see tax increases be as unpopular as they are, and they're about as popular as Satan himself is in the state of Alabama, very, very unpopular. And I didn't expect to see Governor Bentley's approval numbers be so high, considering he's pushing a tax increase right now. So what that told me was that while people don't want the taxes that he's pushing, they still like him and trust him, and they believe what he's saying is going to happen to the state of Alabama if they pass one of these austerity budgets, one of these scaled-down budgets. They believe him when he says services are going to be cut. They just don't want to have their taxes raised, and I think they're all defaulting and saying, all right, gambling it is.
Well, it was a very good poll. We had a lot of people look at it. I mean, it was 61% Republican, 28% Democrat, 11% Independent. I mean, I think it spoke to a lot of concerns.
But I agree with you. Think about 7 years ago. Remember when we had this gaming casino issue in front of us, and a lot of people ended up going to trial and all that sort of thing? All the polls that they ran back then showed that people wanted to have the right to vote on this issue.
Right.
I think the citizens of the state of Alabama have been pretty consistent, I would say, over the last 8 years wanting to vote on gaming.
Well, we were pleasantly surprised. I mean, maybe not pleasantly, but we were surprised that it came in the way it did. Jack, I mean, these are poll numbers tell us something.
I think that, and interestingly, on a lot of times on sin things like gambling, people don't always tell you that they're for it because they don't want people to know, even though it's it's automated polls. Still and all, somebody's name is attached to that answer. So that was very interesting to me.
Yeah, that they would come out that strong. Barron, one of the things that we've talked about, you and I, and Jack and Claire, on occasion, is that there's a call for this gaming commission to be strengthened.
Yes.
Yeah, we're seeing that.
Oh, absolutely. And this is, when I talk to people in the House and Senate, this is their biggest fear, is that something gets out that doesn't have any teeth. And I think that, you know, go back to 1999. Why did the lottery fail when it was approved of by 70% of the people? Because of the way it was structured.
Right.
The way it was structured was rife with potential for corruption. And if you don't have a gaming commission, there are a few things people want to see. They want to see a gaming commission that can prosecute and serve writs and investigate and have subpoena and arrest power, operate like their own police force, because you can't count on, and we all, we all like and trust the businessmen that own these racetracks, but you can't count on the local county sheriff to go in and execute writs in these counties.
Right, right.
You have to give the gaming commission the ability to do that. That's one thing. Another thing you want to see done is some way to tighten up how the proceeds of these are done. Right now, it just sort of throws them all in a trust fund and says, all right, legislature, have your way with it. I think some people would like to see maybe a small percentage dedicated to education, small percent dedicated to local government, to get some of these other communities involved and have some skin in the game.
Well, I've got a favorite pick for one. I've got one pick for that game commission. That's Matt Hart. Do you think that he might serve some writs and investigate?
Talk about teeth, teeth and a beard and everything else. You get it all with Matt Hart.
But no jokes aside, they really need to, like you're saying, they need to, if they're going to do this, a gaming commission, they need to set it up and operate it properly, like a lot of states that have a lot of gaming. And I've heard that Senator Marsh is considering that. That's kind of been the rumor toward the end of last week.
Well, I say that it's funny, but really, you start putting people like Matt Hart on there, or a guy like Richard Miner, who's up in St. Clair County, or Chris McCool, these type of men with great integrity. You're not going to have problems.
One more thing that I think would help assure the people that this is a fair commission here. Give them independent financing. Charge each of these locations $5 million a year, index it for inflation, and give that money to the Gaming Commission so the legislature can't cut them off. And that they have enough money to operate as a credible body. They can go hire some investigators, hire some equipment, get some office space. Give them something that is professional and well done, that they're not just another person sucking off the general fund.
We've only got just a few seconds here left, but one of the other ideas that was floated this past week was that they auction off the sites. I think that's a bad idea.
Terrible.
You bring a lot of terrible elements into the state.
You talk about corruption.
Yeah. We don't want to be Jersey or Las Vegas.
Well, and we're Alabama.
Yeah.
We want Alabama people running our Alabama casinos, investing in Alabama. You auction these off, and you're going to have these Vegas bosses in here buying up our licenses.
Next thing you know, we got Mo Green, right?
Yeah. It has to be tightened up, or the people aren't going to buy it like they did in '99.
All right, we're going to have to hold it right there. The Senate says roll them bones. We say stay put. We'll be right back.
In 1977, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European pro golf tours, 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the US Open twice, 1 in 1.2 billion. The odds of him having a child diagnosed with autism, 1 in 88. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs of autism.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. We were given by several witnesses this past week and the week before that people are saying that Mike Hubbard is like a man on the verge. It's as if he's come unhinged. He went to one committee meeting and yelled at several legislators, ran down the hall to threatened Alan Booth, said that you just cost Troy University $10 million. And then we understand just a couple of days ago, he got into it with the former chairman of the ALGOP, Bill Armistead, basically calling him out for opposing his tax package. This man is desperate, Jack. What's it all about?
I don't know, but I saw the Cane Mutiny. If he starts asking for strawberries, you better run. I don't know. He's sort of a man without a country right now. He has gotten his way for 4 years, and now he's a spoiled, petulant child who people are finally standing up to saying, Mike, my sign, like Will Ainsworth, my sign said no new taxes. I can't go out there and vote on this tax proposal. But Mike is so selfish in only allowing the Indians to have gaming, and we all suspect, as many people have said in the hall, that perhaps his legal defense is being funded. Well, that's a rumor.
And to make it clear, Mike's proposal is 100 to 200 million in new taxes or some type of taxes, and then exclusive compact to give Vegas-style gaming only to the Porch Band of Creek Indians.
Yeah, but those taxes didn't pass in the Alabama House, okay? So you're minus that. And what I can tell you from the sentiment that I hear, the Senate, there are very few, if any, senators that are interested in giving the PCI, the Porch Creek Indians, exclusive gaming in the state of Alabama.
Well, when we polled the people in the state, it polled at 13%. It was down there with Dr. Mangala. I mean, it is not popular. And then, Baron, the thing that really is sort of astonishing to me is this rumor that's going around that people actually think he's trying. They've made some quid pro quo agreement.
Put aside the truth of the matter. Put aside the fact that it may have actually happened. Just talk about the fact that the rumor is so persistent that it may have happened. I've talked to several House members, former lieutenants of his, people that he appointed to chairmanships, to leadership positions, who have said, I've asked them point blank, do you regret electing him as Speaker? They said, absolutely. One of them said, I never realized how desperate he would become over the course of the session and what a terrible situation he would put us in as House members. And I said, do you feel like he's going to be back next year? They said, no, but we are, and we're going to have to live with what he's doing.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, what you say, I will concur on that, because you know what? He probably won't be. And there may be some older gentlemen or women that are going to run, that probably won't run. But particularly all these freshmen that he probably didn't support, and these other freshmen, they all signed these tax pledges, or some of them didn't, saying no new taxes. If they want to come back, they're not going to vote on these taxes.
Right.
Well, I mean, Jack, I don't know. Sacrifice your career for Mike Hubbard?
No, it's ridiculous. Or committee chairmanship? Who cares? Everybody has a soul and a conscience. You got to vote that way, not the way some little dictator tells you to vote. And that's what they've done for 4 years. Have caved into him.
Yeah, and people are waking up.
What a great day to be a Democrat in Alabama. I'm against taxes.
And the Republicans are raising taxes. They're the tax and spend Republicans of Alabama. Claire, you got to be proud.
Well, you know, I guess this maybe strengthens my French Republican ties even more, because I'm not for raising taxes.
You remember the Superman versus Bizarro, where everything's backwards in Bizarro
Barron
world?
talks about the Twilight Zone all the time.
We're back there.
I mean, it really is the day you see the Republicans raising taxes and passing gambling bills, and the Democrats are sitting over there going,
well, but
we had our idea first.
For the record, I would say majority of most Republicans in both chambers are not for raising taxes. Just because some of the leadership is, that does not mean that the average Republican is.
I don't want to toot our horn, but thank goodness Barron and I helped elect Wadsworth and Connie Rowe and Isaac Wharton and some of these other guys who are, thank goodness, insurgents.
Yeah. Mike Hubbard has not been having a good week. I would say he's not been having a good year, and he did not have a good April, we now find out. His legal team had filed motions to have the case dismissed. They filed motions to have Robert Bentley testify and Luther Strange. And the ethics record keeper, Judge Walker, ruled last week. He said that Luther would only give a deposition in writing, not what they wanted. He said that Governor Bentley did not have to testify. He quashed that subpoena, and he said that the keeper of the records over at the Ethics Commission did not have to appear either. He quashed that one. They got...
well, it wouldn't matter. They don't really keep records over there, I don't think.
Well, it's still a big loss for them, because these are things that they really wanted. And Barron, you as an attorney, explain to us why this is a big deal.
Well, it's a huge deal. The most disingenuous statement I've read in the media in quite some time was Mark White being quoted after losing all these motions saying, well, it's not really a big deal, not really a big setback. Well, if that's the case, stop filing frivolous motions. It obviously is a massive deal. One of their main components of their legal defense is that the prosecution is somehow without authority.
Yeah.
That it was improperly appointed, that the grand jury should have never been impaneled under these circumstances. Well, here was their opportunity to convince the judge through a series of witnesses that this is the case, and the judge said, you haven't even begun to construct a legal argument that can tend to prove that. It's a huge deal.
It is. And the other thing, this is a PR campaign for him.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, and he's got an unpaid cheerleader, and that's the Opelika Auburn News.
That's incredible.
Wrote in the column verbatim what the 53 questions were they were going to ask Luther Strange. I've never heard that in my life.
That would be egregious. Okay,
absolutely.
And it's pretty standard.
What kind of journalism is that?
It's standard fare, but these guys definitely are. They haven't drank the Kool-Aid. They bought into the Kool-Aid.
They're swimming in it.
They're swimming. They got a thing.
They may
got a
drown
slow
in it.
leak in it, though, I believe.
And now they want to subpoena. They also want to subpoena half a dozen other people from the Attorney General's office. And I just don't. After this ruling, I don't see them getting there. I just don't see it happen. Jack, you got any thoughts on that?
No, and they better hope some of these people better hope they don't get subpoenaed either.
Some of them get subpoenaed. They're going to be asked some difficult questions, aren't they?
You're right. And, the more he subpoenas, the more the clock and the money racket keeps up, and probably the worse the PR is going to be.
Every time Mark White files something, manna falls from heaven in the forms of embarrassment on Mike Hubbard. I encourage him to keep filing stuff.
Well, he certainly doesn't seem to know when to quit, but we do. You've been watching The Voice of Alabama Politics. You can catch news stories every day on alreporter.com, and you can catch us every Sunday throughout the state. Thank you for watching, and have a great week.